Hello, everybody. Oh, I feel like we're going to have a fun night tonight. I can feel it. This is really good energy.
Sorry, it was late. Sorry.
What did you say?
Sorry, it got late.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind. Well, hello, everybody. And happy, that was yesterday, summer solstice, right? I'm just letting all of you guys know that it's 105 here in Phoenix right now. So my computer's been overheating all day. So if my picture starts moving slowly.
Happy day after summer solstice. Or yeah. You know what, whichever countries are back or a day behind, it could be summer solstice there.
Oh, and for Josh, it's the winter solstice.
And yes, it's the winter solstice. Yes.
Wow. You know, he's got those drains that go the opposite direction. We don't really pay attention to that.
How does one function in 108-degree heat?
I actually really like it. I did go for a walk yesterday outside, and I realized why there was no one else out. It was literally like a desert scene when a tumbleweed blows across the my eyes were like drying up because it's dry heat here, so it's not that bad. But the electronics don't do well. And your phone will turn off if you're driving and you have it in the
sun.
Yeah, sitting in the sun in the window. So yeah, it's a little hot. So I apologize if my camera is slow.
I think this fits into the theme of surrender.
Yes, surrender to if my computer turns off. All right, well, would someone like to read today? Or should I ask somebody? Hey, Shri, do you want to read today?
Sure.
Okay, all right, let me share my screen, which may take 15 minutes because my computer is overheating. Oh, it went quick, okay. All right, can you see it all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, just went away.
Oh boy. There we go. Wait, no. Okay. Working now?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, take it away.
All right. This week's topic is surrender. This has been a topic before a few times with Jeff and with Peter and myself. Surrender is something we have to return to over and over again in life with Baba. Sometimes it's about the same thing we tried to surrender before or something entirely new. Baba is always showing us different ways that we are trying to cling to our version of how we would like things to go. Of course, there are always more things we have to surrender to Baba. After all, if we are still here, there is more to let go of. Something that has been coming up for me is the concept of resurrendering. Often Baba will bring us to our knees, so we will have to cry out to him and finally ask for his help. But what about when that has already happened once? Have you surrendered something in your life previously only to realize that you are back doing it all over again? Have you surrendered something to him, allowed him to show you the way, and then decided you were good to go, believing you understood the message he was trying to convey? Perhaps you did fully surrender at the moment, but then did not continue to check in with whether you were still following his wish. There's quite a blow to the ego that happens in having to resurrender. Of course, the first time around wasn't easy, but we at least had the ability to say we didn't know any better. Have you felt shame in the aha moment when you realize you're back to your old ways? Do you apologize to Baba or cry out in desperation, asking him to help you through this egoic addiction? Has this happened to you? Did the first surrender feel different than the other? Was the second easier than the first because you've been there before? Was trust already established with his ability to help you through? Was it even harder because the fear of getting back to where you are yet again plagues you? I believe this is something we have all experienced and can relate to. We tend to think at times we are advanced surrenderers until Baba comes in and shows us just how much we need to rely upon him. I can't wait to see where this goes. In his love, Margi.
And Peter.
And Peter. Sorry, Peter.
No, it's okay. It wasn't scrolled down there. Thank you, Shri. Well, okay. Can you guys see me again? Yeah. I was really excited for this topic because it's something that I think we all run into. Maybe, I mean, I'm speaking for everybody here, but I could be wrong. I know for myself, I have gotten to spots where I've surrendered things and then I listen to Baba, maybe keep going for a little bit, and then I get to a spot where I'm like, oh yeah, I know what Baba wants. Oh my God, Jake's here. Jake Lawton. Wow. That's crazy. I don't know if you can. Hi, Jake. Oh, you're muted, but it's so good to see your face.
It's lovely to see you as well.
Oh, we were doing like a little youth chat last year, like a Baba group, and Jake was on there before. But anyway, yeah, so re-surrendering to Baba can feel hard because I think we often feel like, oh, we surrendered to Baba, we've got it. And then we realize that we get back in there and are driving the car again. And then we have to go, ooh, we've taken over. Help me out again, Baba. So I'm going to open it up, but does anybody have anything that they want to speak to on this, whether it's an experience or something they're going through right now or lessons they've learned? All right.
I'd like to add something.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the what was first read, it talked about Baba helping us. And I think that's an important thing that I think I don't hear it quite as much as Baba would say it, would often say it. I think sometimes people think that Baba is here to just take care of us in a way that doesn't have to do with his helping us. It's just like pampering us or feeding us or saving us or something like that. But really, Baba often said that he was here to help people to find God, not to show them God until they put out the effort. In other words, God helps those that help themselves. And so I just think it's something good to reiterate.
Yeah.
Because he did say it so often that his job is to help us. Like recently, Rostam and Saurabh were here at the Sahabas that we had, and he said Mani had said something about, I don't take away the thing that's in your way, the difficulty, I help you to get over it or get through it.
Yeah, I think Mani would say, I prayed to you to give me strength. You gave me weakness, so I would have to rely on you.
That's a good one.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I've definitely have gone through many iterations of thinking about my life in relationship to surrender to Baba, and the most current form that I feel I'm kind of called to is related to the quote that I'll just paraphrase as, being content with your lot. And for me, being content with my lot now, I feel like is a form of surrender rather than constantly clamoring to what could be or what I would like it to be or what I feel it should be or whatever. Being able to surrender to how things are right now, I'm finding to be very helpful. Like if something needs to change, I could, if I feel like something should really change, I can make an attempt to move it. But at the end of the day, always coming back to being content with my lot, meaning being content with how things are, I feel is a very loving thing to do. Not always easy, but I do feel like it's a very loving thing to do.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you, Jake.
All right. And Josh.
Yeah, no, that was good. Jake, what you said was actually preempting my question. I'm interested because like I have my own definition of what Baba means by surrender, but I'm not sure it's the most accurate. But yeah, I'm really interested in hearing basically what everyone's different definitions of surrender looks like. But yeah, I like the being content with your lot. Oh, that's good, because I know that Baba talks about how important surrender is. I think if I'm remembering correctly, he puts it, above obedience and love, which is really funny. I sort of just equate it with, to me, it's synonymous with holding on to the Dharma and then also sort of imagining myself like dust and just like being like dust in the winds of the universe. But I really want to hear what other people hear, because some people see surrender as synonymous with obedience, you know, so their surrender is selfless service to others, you know, robbing themselves to help others. And then some people see it sort of as just relaxation, you know, so I was like, oh, time for me to surrender and relax. I better get my Baba wants me to go on a spa retreat because he says surrender is important, and so I better go relax. And so yeah, I'm interested in hearing everyone else's stuff, but I like being content with a lot. That's another good thing to hear. Yes.
Yeah, I think those are really, really good points, Josh, because you know, Baba says surrender, but he doesn't actually really quite, I mean, he doesn't say don't go take a spa day. So you might be onto something.
All right. And Tony, what do you think surrender is?
So first thing that came to mind listening to Josh was Baba's quote that love is a gift from God to man. So when you feel God's love, then you get to express love. Obedience is a gift from master to man, and where Baba says, if I give you an order, I give you the capacity to carry out that order. But surrender is a gift from man to, I believe, master. And it's the one thing we can give, Baba, but I don't think it's like giving up something for Lent or forswearing some particular vice or desire, or I think, although it can manifest that way, no doubt. There's so many shades and nuances and variations. But I think for me, what surrender is something that comes of its own whim almost. When you are completely accepting at every moment of what is, and not hankering to change it to something else, or wishing it wasn't something else, or wanting to hold on to it and make it stay. The life of surrender, I think, is the life of living in complete acceptance with what is, including within your own being, your own shortcomings, flaws, cravings, whatever it is. Reminds me also of the fellow who would write, was sending this endless stream of notes to Baba, bewailing his shortcomings and his failures. And Baba finally just like sort of threw his hands up and he said to Erich, tell that fool it is my will. And you know, we like to think it's our doing, and but if we can just accept what is, that's a big gift, because then it leaves him free to do everything else, to do everything in us, create the change in us. And I'm saying this as something I have some experience of sometimes. But it's what I realize it's the only thing I can give Baba, really. That's what he said. That's the gift that you can give me. So I try to. And when I do, I'm happier. I have more peace and I'm happier, because just going along with it. And what it asks of you, a situation, what it asks of you is part of what is, you know. So, like that.
Thank you, Tony. And Shri, what are your thoughts on this?
For me, I think surrender means two different things. The first half being, I think, what people more so associate it with when you're going through something really tough and you're kind of pushed to your breaking point and you just say, Baba, like Jesus, take the wheel, essentially, or Baba, take the wheel. And there's a Rumi quote that I love, and it goes along the lines of, when the world pushes you to your knees, you found yourself in the perfect position to pray. And I always thought that was so beautifully said. And I love all his work in general, but I thought that particularly was so beautifully written. And I think in that moment, surrendering to Baba just means trusting him, even if your mind doesn't in that moment, but trusting him with your heart that everything's going to be okay and to stop worrying. But I also think there's another half to surrender, for me at least, and I'd love to know whether other people or what other people think of this, that's surrendering to Baba when things are great in life. And kind of when you're at peace with something and you say, wow, Baba, like I was walking around the park that I live by this past weekend. There's like a beautiful pond and the sun was setting. And I was like, wow, in this moment, everything is so peaceful. And I'm like, thank you, Baba. And I think you can also surrender in those moments, but in a more positive way than I guess your mental headspace would be when you're surrendering because you are crying for help to Baba. But I think I think both are equally beautiful, even if you feel better in one, because in both you owe him everything that's happening to you. And I actually think the moments of surrender where you're pushed to your breaking points are what make you more resilient and more strong and even like closer to him as a human being. But the moments of peaceful surrender are also beautiful because you're just content and your mind isn't racing. But I was curious to think if, or to know if people thought of the other way of surrender as well.
Yeah, that's really beautifully said. And you bring up a really good point. I mean, he who remembers God Jeff, I'm going to paraphrase this, I think, but it's he who remembers God when he's happy remembers him best.
He who remembers God in his hour of happiness remembers God best. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, I mean, for me personally, I don't really see surrender as this thing that I have to get like pushed to. It's surrender happens when I catch myself driving the car. It's no matter what it is, whether it's like happiness, sadness, excitement, anger. It's just like, oh, that's me again. I see myself. All right. You win. You are like, it's really, I lost. Whoops. But.
All right. And Diane and Terry.
I think ultimately for me, surrender is letting go. And when I let go, it's also letting go of control, which means I've given it to Baba for his outcome. It's when I just feel done. I've done everything that I can do. And whether it's good or bad, I'm over it. And whatever the outcome is, it's Baba's. And I just let it go. And it's a very, very freeing feeling. And I don't do it enough. But when I do it, it feels kind of blissful because there's nothing pushing you to do something. You just have to hang with it, and whatever the outcome is the outcome. But I think it's hard for us as humans to just let it go and be. But when we do, we're more present, we're more in the moment. It's really a wonderful experience. It's just not how we're trained when we're kids. We're trained to take things on, not to let things go. Unless it's I'm sure if you're having some kind of a breakdown, your parents would want you to let it go. But other than that, it's about learning and growing and moving through things on your own. So getting used to Baba taking the control is it's interesting.
I want to say something.
And Diane's coming back to say something.
It's not easy.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So I have a couple things that happened to me that were incredibly profound pre-Baba. And now that I'm on Team Baba, I see that those were Baba had his nazar on me. And one of the ones was, do you know what the Joseph Heller method is? It's like Rolfing. It's deep tissue massage. And I was in my early 20s and I was getting it done. And when I say it's painful, the job of the technician is to get into a muscle and just elongate it. Well, for those of us who have been uptight their whole life, we tend to have very tight muscles. So it's a very painful experience. but one that I was willing to go through because I so much wanted to let go of my uptightness. And at one point he said, breathe. I said, no, I just ruined the punchline. He said, let go. And I said, what the hell? Well, I wasn't as nice as this, but what the hell does let go mean? And he thought for a moment and he went, breathe. And so I do that a lot now. And then the second thing is, Terry just told this story not too long ago, but I don't think it was at this meeting. When we had a cruelty-free bag store, we were up in Reno, Nevada at a luggage show. And I was messed up about something. I have no idea what it was. We were in Reno, Nevada, and
In a hotel.
in a hotel, and it was like very tall glass windows that overlooked downtown Reno and then the Sierra Nevadas with Lake Tahoe on the end. So Terry said, come here. And we're standing in front of the window overlooking. She said, now open your hands. I opened my hands and she said, now put all those thoughts and feelings in these hands. And I did. And she said, now give it to Reno. And for years, that's been a public story, give it to Reno, but it's all about surrender. And I just got a phone call from my boss. And I thought, now why is she calling? She knows I'm on PTO. We're going to Marymount tomorrow. It's a really special day for us. And she called to tell me that there was going to be an email that she knows I would look at. But she said, I need you to not react. She said it 4 times. I need you to not react. So as I was walking back here, I said, that's what surrender is, right? To not react.
Yeah. Wow.
Let Bubba read.
Yeah. Or not to react,
I'm
not to react at your not to react to your reaction.
I'm dying to read the email though.
I know, Diane, you should read the email to all of us. And then we'll really see if you react or not.
Read it now, right in front of us.
Well, it's
You don't have to read it out loud if it's something like, you're fired.
Thank you, Josh.
yeah, thank you. Yeah. She had told me who the topic was and I was not there. So I was not part of the problem.
This time.
All right, Orang, what are your thoughts on this?
Jay Baba. My thoughts, believe giving up my own will and subject my thoughts, ideals, and deeds to the will of Baba.
The will of Baba.
Giving up my own will, thoughts, and ideals to the will of Baba, teaching of the way he wants me to be. It's actually, I like with the one word that Tony said, it's very, very powerful. It means a lot to me. Accepting. Acceptance. To agree to stop fighting, hiding, resisting. To allow something to influence or control. Letting go. Letting go is surrendering to me. Let go, let Baba.
Thank you. Yeah. It's to the point. I mean, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Thank you, Lorraine. What? Did somebody say something? Yeah. I mean, I think that's the short and simple and sweet truth. It's just letting go and letting Baba do it, and also surrendering to as well. But it's a lot harder then, I think that sometimes I had a client one time tell me that they get a workshop high every time we talk. And I was like, oh, that's great. Until I realized that they have to go home and do all the work that we talk about. And then it's not that easy. And I feel like, it's kind of the same thing when we come on these calls or we go to Baba meetings or we go to Sahavas. It's like, oh yeah, we just like go and let Baba. And then he hits us with our darkest, deepest stuff and where all of our control is. And then all of a sudden these ideals of what surrender is kind of go out the window. Okay, Josh just unveiled himself. Yeah, the client was Josh that we were working together, and he would say, I have this workshop high. And I was like, oh, that's great. But like, what about the other 150 hours that are in a week that we have to do everything, right? Because that's kind of how it goes. It's like we can surrender to Baba. And then really what I was kind of thinking about when I wrote this email is, of course, surrender. But I mean, I'll just share my own experience of this where I guess I kind of started a healing journey, which I avoided for a lot of my life so around like 22, I started my healing journey. And I had so much childhood trauma that I just like went balls to the wall and really like burned myself out to the point of I was immobile and I was growing and growing and growing so much that I was like short circuiting. And I just surrendered my healing journey to Baba. I said, Baba, I'm trying to get to this destination of being healed, but I just surrender it over to you. And then it was this really beautiful experience of like, Baba kind of guiding me and pushing me in a direction. If it was time to do some emotional release, I'd do some emotional release. If it was time to just rest, I would rest. If it was time for joy, I would have joy. But then I felt like Baba gave me a really good structure and those daily reminders, or, I get intuitions, just like we all do, about what we're supposed to do. That kind of felt like it went away. And in the last couple of months, I've been balls to the wall, like trying to do this healing work. And I was having the same nervous breakdown feeling that I was having when I kind of started. And I was just sitting there full of anxiety, full of overwhelm of all the things I could do. And I caught myself and I said, oh my God, Baba, I like retracted my surrender to you. I forgot you're the one in charge of this. I took something away that I gave over to you. And then it was like I was back to remembering step by step that Baba tells me everything to do. And so it was even when I woke up the next day, it was like, say my name, make your bed, go journal, that kind of stuff. And we forget that we can just surrender over and over to him. But we get hit with that egoic, like, oh boy, how did I get myself back here? But all right, we've got Josh.
Yeah, I relate to that, and I feel like once I've surrendered something once, for 5 minutes, then I don't have to surrender again, for the rest of the day or something, which I think is the trap. I think but yeah, I mean, I think like in a perfect world, it would be a continuous process, of sort of being like, oh, okay, where's the universe leading me today? And yeah, just that continuous letting go. But yeah, as I told Margie, it's easy to like intellectualize it when in the sessions, when you've got lots of friends around, but then harder to get myself doing it in life, when I've got to go do my taxes or something like that. I just get sucked up into other stuff. And I am interested in hearing how Diane went after reading that email, and I'm open for it to be terrible, whether it was an easy or difficult reaction. What was it? Did you get lost? Did it suck you out of the
No,
vortex?
not at all. In fact, I wrote back to her and I said, what about this did you think would trigger me? I literally can't understand at all. But I think she maybe just didn't want me to have any reaction. Not that I would have any reaction, but she didn't want any reaction in email. Like, how you hit reply all kind of thing.
Well, good.
But now you should have a reaction about not getting reactive.
Yeah, now
you
I'm
need
really
to-
upset that I'm not crazed.
Yes, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
You know, we had to do a lot of surrendering about our car as we drove up to Marana, back at the end of May, and on the way about 110 miles outside of here, my transmission failed. I got my car back yesterday. So that's about 3.5 weeks of not having my car. Now, we're really lucky. Terry has a car and she only works a day and a half. And my mechanic is right down the street and gives me his Toyota that has 305,000 miles on it. And as a loaner, but that is such surrender for me to really let go and trust that Baba, I kept saying, if Baba wants me to get a new car with all the GPS and all the, Bluetooth, he'll give me a sign. And so when the transmission failed, I said to Terry, is this the sign? And the mechanic in north of here said, no, it's not a sign. He was the one that had all the spirituality stuff in his waiting room. He said, this is not a sign. You have a car that is really, really good, and they don't make them like that anymore.
Wow. That's beautiful. And also it gets a lot easier when we surrender too. We somehow forget that. Our mind and ego will kind of get wrapped up in how hard it's going to be. Or like, oh God, I have to let go. When it's like, really, if you let go, it's just all of a sudden things are a lot more simple. I think we like to take responsibility. But also, I want to go back to Ron's point about how, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. This might be my feeling, but I don't really think we're supposed to just like sit around and wait for Baba. Baba wants us to take action and to do our best and let him help us. And we're going to mess up sometimes, right? We're going to make the wrong move. We're going to get too attached to the outcome, and just always coming back to that place of realizing that we stopped asking for Baba's help. That we began to assume that we were, we knew what he was trying to convey, when really did we, or did we just stop asking him? And if we start asking him again, he'll happily give us an answer.
There was another thing that I wanted to bring up that's close to this, and that is in the highest of the high message, one of the things that Baba said, and what I find is one of the nutshells of that amazing highest of the high message, is he said, I am the one to take, not the one to give you, or give as you want, or give what you want, or as you want. So, and he also said that he was here to strip us of our desires and wants. And so I like that image these days. It changes from time to time just to keep it interesting. But I've been thinking that I just want to make myself available for Baba to take care of his role. His role is to strip me of the things that prevent me to come in closer contact with him and be more aligned with his truth. And he knows how to do it better than I could ever know. There's no way I know anything about that. I just want to make myself available for him to do it in his time and in the ways that he sees fit. So taking and stripping, those are the key words for me these days.
It's a good place to be.
Yes, I think it is a very good place.
All right. Where we got Josh.
Yeah, I just did a little Google, and these are some of the quotes that a rough selection of quotes, and these might not apply to you, but this is just a quick Google. So he was saying, surrender to my will. All those who surrender themselves in love to me will see, adore, and realize the reality behind my form. So that's an interesting we'll be seeing some kind of transcendental stuff. And here's an interesting one. So it says, an aspirant that realizes that true liberation, right? True liberation is surrenderness of the false and the inheritance of the truth. So it's so yeah, I guess in this sort of angle, it's sort of giving away things that are not lasting for things that are lasting, for peace, giving away changeable, temporary things for things that are more permanent. And what's some others? There are lots of stuff. I'm just trying to pick out the one. Oh, here he is. In fact, it's a mighty joke, this whole thing of surrender. So but yeah, okay. But yeah, for me, it's yeah, it's a challenge, it's a challenge to let go. That's a real big challenge. What are some examples of me struggling to let go in my life? I always struggle at the dooney. I like to give very specific, tailored things to the dooney. So, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to give up, like chocolate for the next month, but it is okay if I have a relapse and accidentally eat some. So that's what I'll end up putting in the dooney, right? And I guess, yeah, so for me, I'm slowly working up to it. I'm surrendering a little bit, but maybe in 50 lifetimes time, I'll be ready to surrender my whole reason for living and go into the desert and and sit in that circle for 40 days. But yeah.
Thanks.
And he also says somewhere that it surrenders like gradually. He says, where is it? Okay, yeah. Surrender is sometimes something one does continuously, and each time one does it, it is a little bit more. So yeah, I think it's that gradual, slow dripping away.
Yeah. Thanks for looking at that, Josh.
All right, and Jake?
Yeah, I was just sitting with the idea of what I feel like surrender is, and trying to come to a deeper appreciation of, or a deeper meaning or appreciation of surrender as I am capable of seeing it. And I kind of had this sudden realization that for me in my present circumstance, the deeper meaning of surrender for me right now comes with surrendering to the fact that I'm that at the core of who I am is love, and that all of the worldly desires and drivers that I'm chasing after, or that I have built up built up the seeking pleasure from, or getting pleasure out of doing these daily tasks, or striving for things for the future, or what have you, that I've kind of like lost sight of that my real core self is love. And in this moment, I was just feeling how strongly I was kind of being called to surrender to that deeper realization, and like trying to live my life in my daily activities from that space of that I am love, to whatever extent, to whatever depth I can actually do that, and to whatever extent I'm aware of that. But I was really feeling that, like, for me, just in this moment, surrendering is surrendering into my deeper loving self.
Excellent.
Really beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Let me, I don't, I'm on an iPad, so I don't even know how to work it. So I don't know how to raise my hand. There's nothing to tell me how to do it. But anyway, I really agreed with what people have said. It's very wonderful to hear. This is kind of one way that Baba kind of worked with me on this. Back in the 60s, I was like very anxious about what I was going to do with my life. I was regretful about some of the things I'd done in my college days, nostalgic about my childhood, which had been idyllic. And the war of Vietnam was going on, which I was not going to be a part of. And in the middle of all of this mental turmoil, Baba conveyed this to me. In every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. In every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. And what I discovered, I mean, this is kind of moving towards surrender, you might say, but I discovered, I come to this moment and try to be loving in this moment. It's not whether I'm actually loving, but that I'm trying. Trying to be loving is love. So I just kind of keep at that. And Baba says that eventually, he says, go on loving me until my love becomes your life. That's not the exact quote, but go on loving until my love becomes your life. So I feel like moving towards surrender is that you come more and more to this moment with a determination to love, to try to love. And then over time, I mean, I think we've all experienced that, where you sometimes feel that you're eclipsed by Bob. Somehow in an interaction, it doesn't seem like you, it seems like it's orchestrated by him. And to me, I feel those are moments, actual direct experiences of surrender, where his being eclipses our little personality and something gets done by him, by overshadowing who we are. And as that becomes more and more, eventually, these the Mandali, they feel that Baba is really the one who's living their life. And they are witnessing this experience from the sidelines, so to speak. And that Tony read earlier, I had to go in and out, so I missed some of this, but here's the one thing that Baba says about surrender. One who loves is the lover of the beloved. One who obeys is the beloved of the beloved. One who surrenders has no existence other than the beloved. So what happened to us? That's when Baba kind of eclipses us. And that's kind of the ultimate surrender. But I feel all of these little efforts to obey and love and everything like that, trying to, or chipping away at it until Baba gets a little more and more of a foothold in us. And one of Kitty David's favorite quotes from the Bible was not I, but Christ liveth in me. And Darwin used to say, sooner or later, you discover you're nobody. And that is not an unhappy discovery, where you actually feel yourself eclipsed and you're fine. You don't have to be anybody anymore. You can be nobody and witness Baba living your life. So to me, I think more and more over time, you get a feeling that Baba's living your life and you're not, you're content to witness this rather than to be in the action. You're quite, and the experiences that I've had is kind of magnificent when he seems to take over. And then I drop back to my little puny self. But then when I drop back to my little puny self, try to get that little puny self to try to love in the present and try to get back to that, experience where he's kind of the one that's living. And it's, yeah, it's not an exalted experience. It's just very lovingly ordinary and natural, I guess. Anyway, that's some of what how I would describe this, not having thought too much about it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Really beautiful said. It's so funny, as you were talking, I remembered the story of what also kind of going back to what Sri said about how surrender doesn't have to be such a serious thing. And even like with you, Jeff, you're not talking about it bringing you down to your knees. It's just like in daily life. Is Baba living your life, or are you? And I really like the story of Bao. Jeff, you tell it better. I heard it from you. But how Baba kept asking Bao if something was being scheduled, or if he remembered to do this thing that Baba asked. And Baba kept bringing it up to Bao. And Bao was, yes, Baba, yes, Baba. And Baba would bring it up again. He said, yes, Baba, yes, Baba. And Baba kept bringing it up until finally Bao got so annoyed that Baba kept asking about this thing. And he said, Baba, why do you keep asking me about this? And then Baba just smiled and said, I win, you lose. And it's like, that's how simple surrender is, right? It's just catching that moment and seeing it as a joke too. I think we make surrender this like exhausting thing where we're brought to our knees and it's like, haha, I see. Okay, I see what you did there, Baba. You win.
Yeah, I think as long as Baba, through others, can get a rise out of us, his work in us is not complete. As long as we react for this person or that person, I mean, in a deep way. I mean, you can react in a superficial way, that's different. But that self-reference, when that's knocked out, then when that self-reference, oh, I wonder what they think about me. I wonder if they think of this. Oh, why did they think of that? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? That guy has got to go.
Yeah.
I wonder if Terry, my computer crashed, so I'm just using an iPad. But I wonder if Terry and Diane, I sent a poem called Renovations. If they're there, if they can.
I've been reading it.
So much that we almost know it by heart already.
Okay, read it. I think that it's appropriate.
Okay, hold on. It is, I was actually thinking of reading it too. Hold on. It's under your name, not under Renovations. Okay, can I read the first part that you said, the introduction to me and Terry?
Yeah, yes, so.
Here's the poem you asked me to send by a dear friend, Bill Ramsey. It is a blueprint of our future. Baba removes the clouds that block the sun of our own being. Ouch. Looking at you both, I see he's been moving in unapologetically for years. In his love, Jeff. Now you'll understand. Renovations. I sit gutted and dazed. You have broken down my drywall, ripped out the insulation, mangled the wiring and plumbing, split open the rafter beams, and bulldozed my foundations. Divine beloved, thank you for moving in. Mic drop.
Wow.
Thank you for moving in. I mean, is that terrible?
That's beautiful. Wow. Thank you, guys. Ron, were you putting your hand up or were you waving it?
Yeah, I don't have that feature right now. It disappeared on my thing. So I just raised my hand. But I thought of a couple of things that just put the ball in our court, which Baba loved, which is daring. He loved when people would exercise daring and courage. And he also asked us in the discourses several times to experiment with things. In other words, we don't have to know everything before we go ahead and do everything. And it reminds me of this poem that Steve Klein composed. It says, never wait for certainty. Plunge ahead with his name on your lips and hope for the best. You cannot lose. Either you will blunder on only to discover to your immense surprise and delight that he is well pleased with what you have done. Or you will come to the realization, invariably painful, that you have done exactly what you should not have done. But that is no reason to hesitate. For even this is gain. The lesson learned will be indelibly etched on your heart's commandments. You will not make that mistake again.
Beautiful. Wow.
That's right.
There's a quote from Baba's where he says, and that I'm reminded of, where Baba says, a new line in the divine picture is sketched only when some individual takes life forcefully in their hands, breaks up the old patterns, and insists on creating something new by his own inner vision. It's a little more of a proactive approach than just kind of waiting around. And as Rumi said, if you just wait around, you'll just drift with the tide of the world.
You know, Jeff, one of the sayings that I quote you on is, and maybe I got the quote right, easy for me to say, is I've spent my whole life worried about things that never happened.
Oh, that's Mark Twain. I've been through many trials and tribulations in this life, and most of them never happened.
All right, we're gonna go over to Miss Marion.
Hi, I'll share something of my life because I think many of us could give a dissertation for hours of how we manage being a human in this creation. So I learned many years ago that through in my profession that the divine nature, when the avatar manifests, and also our divine nature, because Baba said we're one, we're perfect at our core, and we're unwinding, we're unwrapping all this stuff. And that is that I have a lower self and a higher self, and then a mask. And Baba's divine qualities of reason, of knowledge, power, and bliss, those are my inner qualities also. And usually there's 1 to the 4 of that triad nature. And so I learned in the psychology 101 that we all know about, that when we're little human beings and we don't get our cookie, or some need doesn't get met, we react. And everybody's done that, or we wouldn't be going through that human phase. And so everybody's different, depending on which is the dominant personality type. Mine is more about the heart, very open-hearted, and knowledge, power, and bliss. Mine is more in that. However, in where it got distorted was my trying to be pleasing, trying to please everybody, being very codependent and pleasing, and trying to do that and please others and all that. So as I've gone through on, all of that dissolving, what I've come to see is that I can't let go of patterns. And as Baba said, you don't have to go look at all your past lives. You can just deal with this life. Is my patterns of trying to please others has in the unconscious self hatred toward giving up my needs for others. So it's that bringing it to consciousness without acting it out. That's my daily work, my daily, and that's why I love the prayer of repentance, because what I'm saying it, and I have every one of those negative qualities that I'm asking, to repent about, and that I'm repenting, but something will come up like a little flash, and it's very personal with Baba, like, oh yes, selfishness, or hatred, or whatever it is, whichever part I am in the prayer. I say, yeah, I have that towards so-and-so. Yes, or wishing pain to befall others. Yes, so-and-so got that work that I didn't get, and I hope she fails at it. There will be such a quick little bit. It's so faint now. It used to be bigger. Now it's very, very faint. And now it means I tell Baba immediately. So I'm not hanging on to it. I'm not acting it out. I'm keeping my heart open. I'm being balanced with my wisdom and being very powerful creator. So I just wanted to share that because I'm so grateful for the prayer, because when I say each one of those things to be to repent about, I got all of them. And I can, in the moment, tell Baba and let it go. So it's kind of like a dance. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Marion.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right, and we have Shri.
I think another thing I really liked from your email was when we talk about like failure in terms of surrender, and failure isn't the right word, but the closest thing I could think of, when you find yourself surrendering to something or to a problem or whatever that you have already surrendered to before. And I think like it's really easy for us to feel really hard on ourselves because we feel like we're disappointing Baba, and that happens to me a lot. And what I've tried to do recently, or had the realization of, obviously Baba is perfect. At the same time, in a bigger picture, like he is also still trying to realize himself on like the entire scale of the universe. And so he's doing that through all of our individual failures and successes. And so I just look at whatever setbacks I have as just a small part of that process that he is going through at large. And it doesn't even make it feel like it's a setback at that point. It feels like it just gets meshed into, it becomes a tiny part of his universal journey. And it's supposed to happen that way, because if he was able to wake up one day and everyone was able to realize themselves as God, well then, like, I don't know what would happen to the universe, actually. Maybe it's a topic for another day. What happens when all kinds of beings become realized? But I often used to like beat myself up over it, because I'd find myself surrendering to Baba for certain situations I was in or certain problems I had in my life, and then be like, okay, giving him control. A week goes by, I'm feeling great, and then like 3 weeks later, I'm back to feeling really crappy about a situation, and then I'm like, well, did I really mean it the first time around? And I think you do. I just think like the world of Maya can be so strong at times, and I mean, none of us are perfect, and it's just hard sometimes to not fall into that kind of trap. I think it's better to surrender again, because it means that you are still trying to actively give Baba control, and he knows how hard that is. So I think he would appreciate that you were trying to give him all reins to your life. And I always used to think like, oh, I failed him, but I think he would actually just be proud that you're standing up again and going at it again.
Excellent. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful said. No, we really get this idea that Baba gets like so angry at us when he knows. I mean, he's the one doing it. There was this quote I just read of Baba's. It's like, I push you away and I pull you close, and I push you farther away to pull you closer. And it's like, so that's inevitable. Like when we mess up, it's really just our ego saying we messed up, because we're taking credit for something that we did, when really it's all, like you said, Shri, it's all Baba's doing.
And when we mess up, we learn something about ourselves. Actually can be a positive thing.
Yeah.
You do something and it turns out to be a disaster. Well, I don't think I'll do that again. I mean, it's a positive thing, but if you just, beat yourself up about it, it only perpetuates the mess, I think, you know.
Or, you know, I've heard that when someone comes in and tries to, like, you know, be codependent or save someone from their difficulty, you're really robbing someone of such a valuable experience of grief or loss or whatever. And that's almost what Baba does, is Baba doesn't rob us of our lessons and our experience. He just waits and he's like, okay, all right, you're back now. It's all right. All right, we've got Jake.
Yeah, I was just reflecting more on the things people have been sharing, and surrender. And I can't help but also feel that I keep coming back to the idea, or wanting to talk about love, I guess, in relationship to surrender, or that somehow surrender is an act of love or something. I almost feel like talking about surrender without talking about love somehow is missing, or not even missing, but I feel like they go hand in hand somehow. And I don't even know if this is true, but I can't help but feel that they're I don't know, somehow related and interconnected.
Oh yeah, I agree entirely. Yeah.
I mean, the surrendering is difficult. And so without the motivation of love behind something, or the intention of love, you know, if we surrendered in order to get something, like, oh, if I surrender, I'm going to get this really good thing, we probably, you know, I don't think we would really be surrendering. It's, you know, surrender is an act of love.
Exactly, I agree. And I like what Jake said is, I think, I mean, Darwin used to emphasize this, to think that you are all really loving each moment, but then by the time it goes through our samskars, that love doesn't quite look like the love that it started out as. But it's love coming into us every moment. But then it has to go through all these veils, and then it comes out just a few miserly drops by the time it passes through our ego, you know. But it's we're being hit by love all the time, and it's there's certain type of therapy where you go start with the love and then work your way down, rather than start from below and work your way up. You know, think that we already have the love, and just how we can kind of move away the obstructions.
Yeah, and love isn't a feeling. I don't know, I always come back to that too. Love's not an emotion, it's not a feeling, it is a state of being. And so, you know, you can have happiness and closeness and joy, or I guess maybe not joy, but happiness, excitement, sadness, anger. Those change all the time, but you can always tune into the constants. Like, love is a constant and it's always available to be tuned into.
And I would say there are no degrees. It appears that there are degrees to it, but it's just one pure love. But there's a lot, what's the line? Baba says, feelings and emotions are the creation of energy and mind. Love is a creation of the soul. Yeah.
All right, Josh.
Yes, hello. Yeah, this was all this cool stuff that reminded me of a dream I had 2 nights ago. And I feel like I talk about dreams a lot, and feel free to disregard them. But yeah, it was interesting. In this dream, I can't really remember what happens, but I came sort of, there was sort of like a divine thing. There was sort of like God was there. And in the dream, God took the form of this purple blob, right? That's what God was looking like in that dream. But yes, every now and then in dreams, I sort of can access very intense emotions that go far beyond sort of waking world emotions, you know? And it was just, yeah, this exquisite beauty that sort of can't even be comprehended of in the waking world very often, or even at all, really. But yeah, so yeah, that's just what was bringing to mind when I hear you folks talking about this sort of like very otherworldly beauty. That's yeah, that's very big, you know, very deep. Yeah. So you guys are doing good. I'm loving it.
Thanks, Josh. We're trying our best.
I will definitely forget everything you say half an hour after I go.
Don't worry, it's on YouTube. You can watch it anytime on YouTube.
No, it's all right. I'll surrender all these good ideas that you folks are coming up with in favor of my other stuff.
In favor of your lower self.
Exactly.
When I heard your prayer that you have to Baba, I had to surrender because there's no way I would remember to say all of that.
I like that. It was fabulous.
No, so what I did it over time. So I suggest this for everyone. So I know people that didn't see this session, but what it is I started making my own prayer, and it just started by me reading some some discourse where Baba told this random person, and I chose to apply it to myself as well. Baba told a random person, before you go to bed, say, I give you my good deeds, I give you my bad deeds, I give you my good words, I give you my bad words, I give you my good thoughts, I give you my bad thoughts. Okay, so that Baba said, so I'm like, okay, I'll just add that to the end of the beloved God prayer, right? And then I also came across a bit that said, where he was like, okay, told someone else, he's like, when you go to bed, think the infinite God is within me and I'm a part of the infinite. And so I was like, oh, and there's another one. I better add that on at the end. And then another time I came across a really great quote, and I'm like, oh, this is such a good quote. And I just cannot incorporate it in my life. So I'm just going to add it on. So, you know, it was just small steps. And it ended up becoming this whole like Pavadigar prayer length spiel that I just recite through every night. If it makes you feel better, Margi, when I say it, I am just getting through it as fast as I possibly can to go to bed.
So you can go to bed.
Yeah. But I think it does get in there, you know, with slow repetition of water against the hard rock over thousands of years will cause a deeper erosion.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I said that I tried to say the Pravardikar prayer when I woke up the other morning. And the problem was I kept falling asleep as I was saying it. And so I think I repeated the first fourth of the prayer, probably like it was like a snooze button. But I mean, this has been a great chat. The last thing that I just want to maybe offer up is I was doing this last year and I kind of got away from it, but there was a period of time where I was waking up in the morning and I was just saying, Baba, I surrender all thoughts, words, and deeds to you, and I entrust you with them. And then I would get in bed at night and I would go over my day and I would be like, huh, that wasn't that bad. Like I left it all to Baba and it turned out okay. Like I feel pretty good. I'm in bed and nothing really bad happened. And then I stopped doing that. And I mean, I've had some difficulty in the last couple months. So maybe that was all I needed to do. All right, Diane and Terry.
So Terry doesn't even know this, but I try and say something in the morning and at night. And it's so awkward sometimes for me. So like, I hear what you're saying, Josh, and I admire that. But for some reason, and I'm not a girly girl at all. So I can't even tell you the last time I wore a dress. But the line that Jeff taught me was, Bob, I think it is, Baba, I dress my soul with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, better than dresser.
But what I do is I imagine slipping, like it coming down on
Like
me.
Sadra?
Yeah. I didn't think of Sadra because it didn't feel like a nightgown, but that's what it felt big like. And that visual and the feeling, it kind of gives me like, cool.
And that came from Baba. Baba said, if you do that, those 4 times a day, you will have his presence with you all day.
Oh, shoot. I thought just saying Baba that many times. I gotta dress my soul with him.
Just 4 times. Actually, anytime during the day after a while. It becomes every moment, every time, every moment is Baba time.
Sometimes I think Baba just tricked us because, he always says like, I'm always with you. I'm nearer to you than your very breath. But then he says, when anyone gets together in my name, then I'm there. And it's like, is he ever not there? It's like he just uses. Go
Wait,
ahead.
Prophet Muhammad said, between you and me, there are 49 veils. Between me and you, there are no veils. So Baba is there, but when it seems like he comes to us, it's really, he just removes some veils so that we actually come closer to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a nice way of kind of humoring us, like, wow, we're drawing closer to Baba. But some of these veils, drop away and you feel like Baba's arrived, but it's more like we have arrived.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, if no one has anything else, I think.
You feel happy that you themed it up? You wrote a theme for tonight? That you
What?
went back-
Surrender.
Are you happy that you reverted back to the theme?
Yeah. It was nice to have 2 weeks of just off the cuff topics, but I think what was happening was people thought the chats weren't happening because the email wasn't going out. Because when I sent the email out, they were like, "Oh, we wondered what happened to the chats." So, I'm happy to do it either way. I already know what I wanted. I actually kind of wanted to tie it into this week, but I want to talk about service because we'll get a little teaser, but I feel like when we do service, sometimes there's this idea that like, oh, you can't fill your cup or you can't fill others' cup until you've filled yours. And I've noticed that with Baba, that's not the case. Maybe in the world, right, when we're putting our name on something, but that's not the case because at the Usahabas, the counselors and all of the staff, not just the counselors, they sleep a total of like 1.5 hours a night. And somehow those kids have the time of their lives. So I know that our cups are not filled and we're somehow filling their cups. And Baba really works through us. And so that's just a little teaser for next week on service and how Baba fills it up.
There's a line. If it's true that we're meant to serve others, then what exactly are others meant for? What exactly are others supposed to do?
Yeah. Real happiness lies in making others happy, but when are the others going to make me happy?
Yes, I like to tell people that real happiness lies in making others happy. It's a great thing to say to other people. Yeah.
So I'm one of those others.
Yeah, real happiness lies in making others happy. So make me happy.
Has anybody had their attention on a Ralph screen? I feel like I'm at an old drive-in movie.
I know, I'm watching Jeff up on
the monitor on the screen.
Yeah, that is. It's kind of like, he's sitting there at a drive-in thing with
there you are.
his girlfriend and popcorn and soda there.
That's why I was eating popcorn before.
Yeah.
I was in the mood.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's have a moment of silence. And actually, I changed my mind. We're not going to have a moment of silence. Diane, will you read that poem again? I'm surrendering to the moment. This is your moment of silence, people.
Renovations. I sit, gutted and dazed. You have broken down my drywall, ripped out the insulation, mangled the wiring and plumbing, split open the rafter beams, and bulldozed my foundations. Divine beloved, thank you for moving in. All
right, and we'll do 3 Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jays. Avatar,
Mere Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar,
Avatar Mere Baba Ki Jai. Avatar Mere Baba Ki Jai.
JJ. And we're going to OJ tomorrow. Oh, hi.